the title for this particular series that we're doing, we came up with the title LSD, Love, Sex, and Dating. And the reason for this is because we understand and we realize that everybody that is on this call has had conversations about these three subjects without fail. All right, you don't have to admit it. I know you've had conversations about all three of these things. I know you've thought about all three of these things, and some of you might already be involved in all three of these things as well. All right, so this is something that is very applicable for every single person. Even if you are not already involved in any of these things, some of you might be seriously considering, seriously thinking about these things. And there's a lot of information that comes to you from different areas of your life. There's a lot of things that culture tells you about. Again, because we live in, especially for those of you who are joining, predominantly everyone here, I believe, is Indian, and or at least has an Indian family background and from the Indian culture. And in most cases, may not be in every case, but in most cases, we tend not to talk about this stuff. Right? We don't want to talk about this, and even the movies that we watch, the things that we see, and the entire family might watch a movie, but then the family never takes time to talk about love, never takes time to talk about what a love relationship looks like. We watch movies after movies after movie. We watch shows after shows after shows, and everything revolves around love, and everything revolves around the idea of dating, and everything revolves around sex and sexuality. In our work life, people are talking about it. The culture keeps talking about it. Online stuff keeps talking about it. Articles and magazines keep talking about it. And even though all of this is happening, the one place we don't really talk about it is in family and in the church. All right. And two most important places that it has to be talked about. It has to be talked about, because I believe that if we're not talking about these things, then the only voice that is left speaking on these subjects is the voice of the culture. And most of the time, the voice of the culture is not a voice that you want to be paying attention to. All right. And I'll give you my reasons for that. And so at the end of the day, whenever I speak to young adults, I want you to know, number one, before I get into any of the topics, here's what I want you to know. I want you to know, every single one of you, I'm doing this in spite of some people having, having their reservations or not too happy about the title called Love, Sex, and Dating in the church and things like that. Here's why I'm doing it. Here's why I'm willing to take the risk. Here's why I'm willing to, here's why I'm willing to hear what people have to say, negative things that people have to say about this. Here's why. And that's because your life matters. Okay, every single one of your lives matter. Every single, the ones that are that I know, the ones that I don't know, the ones that are joining us for the very first time. Your life matters, and you only get to do this once. Okay, I talked about this so much even during our last series when we did Back to the Future. I said we only get to live this live this life once. We don't get a do-over. We only get to live this life once. Our lives matter to God. Our lives matter in the grand scheme of the world. And here's what's important: we only get to do this once. We don't get to do this over and over again. And so everything that you and I do is going to be part of our life story. It's going to be part of our life story. You just can't erase certain things away. It's going to be part of our life stories. And if we're not mindful, what's going to happen is our life story is either going to be a cautionary tale or it's going to be an inspiring story. Okay? Our life will either be a cautionary tale or it will be an inspiring story. Now, what do I mean by cautionary tale? It'll be one of those stories where when people start talking about you, you know what happened in that fellow's life? You know, he did this, this, and this, and everything went to crap. Like nothing worked out. And so make sure you're not like him. That's a cautionary tale. You know that girl, she had so much potential. She was so beautiful. She was so talented. She was so gifted. She was really educated. I mean, she went to the best school. She had a great job. And, but at the end of the day, that's what happened. And you don't want to be in that place. And that's what's happening. You're being used as a cautionary tale, right? On the other side, your life can also be a life of your life can also be a life of inspiration. You know, and other people can start talking about you, and they start talking about you as an inspiration for others to follow. And my prayer and my hope for every single one of you is that your life will not be a cautionary tale, but that your life will be an inspiring life. All right. Now, with that being said, let's get into what we're talking about, love, sex, and dating. All right, love, sex, and dating. All right, so a lot of times, let's start off with love. All right, let's see. Somebody said, I think order should be, yeah, we'll talk about the orders for, no problem. Yeah. So let's start off with love, all right? When we're talking about love, there's a lot, for how many ever people are online right now with us. And by the way, I just want to encourage every one of you to turn your videos on as much as possible. Even if you're out, it doesn't matter. Just turn your videos on so that the interaction is better, and so that I don't feel like I'm just talking to, just letters on my computer. Yeah. All right. So now when it comes to love, again, a lot of times, there's so much that the culture speaks to us. A lot of times love is seen and understood when we're talking about, and now we're specifically talking about romantic love, right? And when we're talking about romantic love, when we're talking about a love between two people, a lot of times love is seen and understood in a fog. Okay, love is seen and understood in a fog. Now, what I mean by that is the way we understand love, the way we perceive love, the way we think about love is understood in the midst of a lot of feelings. Is understood by in the midst of a lot of feelings. Now, these feelings can come as a result of your interaction with somebody. These feelings can come as a result of you listening to a song. These feelings can come as a result of you watching a movie. These feelings can come as a result of you reading a novel, reading a story, watching a series on Netflix or your favorite streaming app, whatever it is. And as you're doing that, your ideas of love, your perceptions of love, your thinking patterns of what romantic love looks like, all of these things are in a fog. And we understand them in a fog. And as long as you understand them in a fog, and as long as you understand only based on what the culture says, more than likely you will be headed in the wrong direction. All right. See, when it comes to love, culture has successfully, to a very large degree, convinced us that love is always is all about finding someone. Right? We've been convinced about finding love. I'm looking for. I mean, phrases like "I'm looking for love" are common in our culture, in our society. When we say I'm trying to find the love of my life. Right? I'm either finding love, I'm either trying to find the love of my life, or people talk in terms of I'm looking for my soulmate, right? And in all of these ways of thinking, the overall aspect is love is somewhere out there, and now I'm on the hunt. Right? I'm on the hunt. I'm on the hunt to find the soulmate. Because we believe once we find the soulmate, all will be beautiful. Once we find the love of our lives, all will be perfect. We know that because we know that whatever Disney tells us, every Disney romantic story in a Disney movie ends with the prince, with the princess, and it's happily ever after. So we're convinced, we're like, once I find that girl, all my problems will be solved. No, only if I can find the right guy, like the right guy, the right girl, the perfect guy, the perfect girl. And all of us have different definitions of what that right guy looks like, or what that perfect guy acts like, behaves like, has already accomplished in life, and all of these things. But it always goes back to this idea. It's like finding Nemo. Nemo is lost, and so like now this perfect guy is lost, the perfect girl is lost somewhere out there in the ocean, and I'm going to go on this adventure of finding that person. And so over and over and over and over again, even without us even intentionally knowing about it, just by us watching, just by us reading, just by us listening to stuff over and over and over again, for the most part, we have gotten into the idea and we have convinced ourselves that it is all about finding someone out there. And here's the lie that we believe. Once I find that person, all will be well with my world. Once I find that person, it will be a perfect life. And that's the lie. And since we are on the hunt, it is always about finding what is not present in our lives. It's always, we're on the hunt. We're always trying to look. We're always trying to find. And we assume that once we find this elusive person, that all will be right with our lives. We assume that it will be happily ever after. Now, here's what we need to understand. In this entire process, we make the assumption that we are ready for love. And this is key. We make the assumption that we're ready for love. So what happens? The guy who's in high school, right? Who's in high school, he watches a bunch of movies, watches a couple of series online, and he thinks, okay, now what I need in my life is a girlfriend. Right? That's what I need. Because once I get that girlfriend, you know, my life will be perfect. And what that girl believes is what I need in my life, in high school, what I need in my life is a boyfriend. You know why? Because I need love in my life, and love is somewhere out there. I need Mr. Perfect. And once I find Mr. Perfect, it's done. It's a done deal. My life is made. And so in that assumption, in that whole believing of that lie is the assumption we think we're actually ready for it. We think we're ready for it. And what we don't understand is when it comes to love and the kind of love that we're talking about, again, it's for the mature. It's for the mature. It's not for the childish at heart. It's not for the faint at heart. It's not for the weak person. Love is for the mature. And the problem is we have too many immature people looking for love. And we have too many people with the wrong understanding and notions of love looking for the wrong kind of love. Because all their understanding of love is based on what has been, what has entered their lives through the fog of the culture. Through movies, through songs, through conversations with their friends and peers, with what the people in their office are telling, what people in their colleges are preaching and telling to them. And all of this preaching going on has entered, and now they think, I'm ready. And because, why am I ready? Because I see everyone else in my life is ready. Now, we don't do this in any other area of life. But somehow when it comes to love and when it comes to relationship, when it comes to dating, we think, hey, because in my class, these guys have girlfriends and these girls have boyfriends. And because they have it, I'm ready for it. And I'm telling you, that's the wrong assumption to make. It's a wrong assumption to make. Now, finding love has taken priority and becoming a person of love has been neglected. If you're taking notes, write this down. See, a lot of times finding love has taken the priority, it has taken precedence over becoming a person of love. So finding has become greater than becoming. And I'm going to challenge you today that it has to be the other way around. What you've got to understand is becoming is much more important than finding. Okay, becoming is much more important than finding. All the emphasis, again, and please take this with the right heart attitude. And even when our parents talk to us, it's all about finding the person. I mean, think about it. Our culture is obsessed with finding. Finding. And I'm trying to tell you, the most important thing is not finding. The most important thing is becoming. It's about becoming. The question is, are you becoming the person of love? Are you becoming a person of love? And is that taking precedence over finding the love of your life? Becoming is much more important than finding. Becoming is much more important than finding. So, because as long as you're constantly thinking about finding, here's what I want you to also understand. As you are finding, guess what? The other person is also trying to find, right? Just like you are trying to find, the other person is also trying to find. The question is, are you becoming the person that you are looking for is looking for? I'll say that again. Are you becoming the person you are looking for is looking for? See, because I remember the story, and this is a cautionary tale story. There was a young woman, and this woman grew up with the right kind of family, had the right kind of background, and godly family and all of that, and grew up in the right way, and then went off to college, and things got a little crazy in college, and got into things that she should not have gotten into, and made certain bad decisions, and so on and so forth. And while all of this was going, while all the craziness was going on in her life, because of her upbringing, because of her the foundation that was laid in her life, whenever she thought about relationships, because now she was getting out of college, and now she was thinking about, okay, I need to get married and all of these things. But over the last several years, she's gotten into certain things, and she developed certain habits in her life, and she got into certain things that she should not have. But again, deep down in her heart, whenever she thought about the man she wanted to marry, she always had a good picture and understanding of the kind of person that she wanted to marry. And one day, she ends up actually going to an event, and here comes the guy that she's been looking for, the kind of guy that she's been looking for. And the guy comes, and he's talking to the people in the gathering that was going on, and she gets to meet him as well. She says hello, and she likes the way this guy looks. She likes the way this guy's talking. She likes the way about what this guy is talking as well. All of these things are going right, and she's thinking, man, this is the kind of guy that I've always wanted to marry. Right? He's talking about the right things. He's passionate about the right things. I like the way he looks. Everything's right. And later on that day, the story goes on to say later, she comes home. It may not have happened on the same day, but later she starts having a conversation with her mother. And she says, Mom, you won't believe what happened. Mr. Perfect showed up in my life. Like, the guy I always used to talk about. And I used to tell you, like, if I ever marry somebody, I want the guy to be this kind of guy, and this kind of guy, and this kind of guy, and this kind of guy. And she's talking, and she's gushing over him, and she's gushing over him. And finally, the mother listens and listens and listens and listens. And finally, her mother is busy, and she stops for a second, and she looks at her daughter. And with all the love that a mother can have for a daughter, she says these words. She says, dear daughter, that kind of man that you are looking for is not looking for a girl like you. You got that? That kind of man that you are looking for is not looking for a girl like you. Now I want you to understand, the same thing happens. I see this happen in real life so many times. There are guys, there are things that you want the girl to be. And you want the girl to do this, and you want the girl to do that, and you want her to be interested in this, and you want her to be talented in this, and you want her to look a certain way, and blah, 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 blah. And you've got your list. And hear me out. You've got every right to have your list. I have no problem with your list. Keep your list if you want to. But the question is not about finding. The question is, this girl, the example that I'm talking about, she found the guy. But just because you found the person does not mean the person wants you. Because you were so interested in finding rather than becoming. Are you understanding what I'm saying? And a lot of times we place so much focus, and again, and I want this to be a real shift in the way you think about love. Because in many cases, you may not even hear this from your family, you may not even hear this from your loved ones, and they mean the best for you, they want the best for you, but they've never articulated in such a way where you have to place the demand upon yourself to become the person you're looking for is looking for. to become the person you're looking for is looking for. Again, it can happen in different ways. I understand Indian culture, and this can happen, in college, this can happen in your workspace, this can happen at the church that you're going to, or this can happen just by a proposal that comes to you by your family. And you go there and you sit in the, what do you call this? I'm only able to come up with the Telugu word, pellichopulu. Like I don't know what's the English word for that. You go and sit in those meetings, and you might like the girl, you might like the guy. Marriage looking sabba. Yeah, translation. So you go and sit in these meetings. Matchmaking. No, I don't think it's matchmaking. Ponnu pokur in Tamil. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know literal translations. Yeah, I don't know Tamil, but if that's the right word, go with it. Okay, but everyone, even if we don't have the right word, I think everyone on the call knows exactly what I'm talking about. So you go in for one of those meetings, and let's say you like the person. But when you start talking, when you open your mouth and you start telling them who you are and what you do and what kind of person you are and all of that, when you have not become the person that the person you're looking for is looking for, it's not going to work. So the question is this: are you becoming the person that is looking for? Now, for all the, do I have any married people on this call? I know there are young adults, any young adults who are married. If you're married and you're on this call, just let me know in the chat area. Just let me know in the chat area. All right. I see one. Nisi says, yeah, in the chat area, just say I'm married, and so I'll know. So it looks like right now we only have one person who's married. Now, even if you're married, here's what I want you to understand. Are you becoming the person that that married you is hoping for? Are you becoming the person the person that married you is hoping for? Jabba is also married. Okay, Swarup is also married. All right. And so we've got to understand that this is a constant battle, that this is something that you're always in the process of. And write this down. Preparation cannot be replaced by a promise. Now, this is huge. Preparation cannot be replaced by a promise. Preparation cannot be replaced by a promise. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, for every person that has ever had their heart broken, okay, I'm not going to ask you if you had your heart broken, because there might be too many people, all right? Okay, for everyone that has had your heart broken, here's what I want you to understand. The problem that happened in your not knowing how it was broken, not knowing who was involved, not knowing whose fault it is, here's what happened. A promise was made that was not kept, and your heart was broken. A promise was made and it was not kept. And here's the problem with that. We think promises can replace preparation. We think I don't have to work on becoming a person. We think, hey, once I find the person, I'll just shake hands with them. I'll give them a nice hug and say, I promise you to protect you. I promise to take care of you. I promise you good things. I promise, I promise, I promise. And we think because somebody's saying, I promise, we think we equate somebody saying promise to their capacity. Are you understanding that? So promises don't replace preparation. Who you are becoming is part of the preparation process. And so for many of us, and for those of you who have even gotten married, what happens is we don't take time to prepare. All we do is we stand at the altar and we simply say, I do. And for all the people that you know who have marriage problems right now, and for all the people who are considering divorce, and for all the people who are going through a craziness in their marital relationships, it's because they never took the time to build up the capacity. They never paid attention to becoming. They believed in the lie. I find the person, my life is set. I find the person, I live happily ever after. And we bought into that lie of the culture. And because we bought into the lie of the culture, we never took time to become the person that we're supposed to be. And all we thought was, as long as my bridal dress looks really pretty, and as long as the photos come out really nice so that I can get the most likes on Instagram, and as long as the video editors make a really good trailer and I can put it on Facebook so everyone gets excited about it, we thought those things are going to what makes my life happily ever after. And sadly, they don't. Sadly, they don't. And every married person that is on this call will attest to that. I guarantee you. I'm telling you. Many people don't, the time that we put into the wedding ceremony, the time we put into buying the clothes, thinking of the venues, thinking about the cards, thinking about the invitations, thinking about the locations, thinking about the dress, we don't even, here's the sad reality. We don't even put that much time into becoming the person we're supposed to be in the relationship. We put more time in a dress. We put more time in the venue. We put more time in deciding the clothes and matching outfits and all of the, we put more time into that than actually thinking about who we are becoming. And that's the reason why we see the kind of issues that we see in many of the married people's lives as well. Am I making sense to anybody? All right. Yes, I see Nissi saying it's a one-day show. That's exactly right. We put more effort in one day than we put for what's going to happen for the rest of our lives. We put more effort in one day, not even one day. It's for just a couple of hours. Just a couple of hours. We put so much time, so much effort, so much into that one thing, and we don't take time to make ourselves into the person so that we can become the person that we are supposed to be in the relationship. So please, please, please hear me out very quickly. Promising someone does not make a person capable. Promising someone does not make you capable. It only makes you accountable. Promising someone something doesn't make you capable of it. It only makes you accountable to it. That's the reason every person that has ever broken their marriage relationship, every person that has broken, here's the thing. When they started off, they said, I promise. They shook hands, they gave a hug, and they brought a gift and did a couple of nice romantic things. And we thought, oh, they bought me flowers. Oh, they got me a gift. And now we think because they got the gift, we think somehow that means they're going to keep their end of the bargain. And the problem is because of everything that the culture tells us, they said, okay, they're promising something they can't even deliver. It's like going to if you've never been to the gym, and if it's like promising someone, you've never gone to the gym, but you're telling someone that you can do a bicep curl with a 50 kg dumbbell. No, just because I promised that does not mean I'm capable of doing that. You know when I can become capable of doing a bicep curl with a 50 kg dumbbell? If I spend time over and over and over and over and over and over again, going back to the gym and back to the gym and back to the gym for a long period of time, and develop my muscle to such a degree that the capacity in my muscle has grown to the point where I can carry a curl of 50 kg dumbbell. Now that's when I'm not only accountable, but I'm capable. When I'm capable. See, when you focus on becoming, what you're focusing on is increasing your capacity to become capable of keeping your promise. Is this making sense? And so without doing that, you cannot. I'm telling you, without doing that, you cannot have a successful relationship. You cannot. All right? Now, this is the reason many people have experienced heartbreak. You were promised a lot, but when it came to the person's capacity, you didn't check on it. You didn't check on the person's capacity. You just promised because it felt good. And you said okay to the promise because it felt really cute. It felt really special. It felt really nice. And everyone was congratulating us. And everyone was clapping for us. And it was so cute. It was so nice. And it was so planned. And at the end of the day, there's nothing to show forth because there's no capacity behind the promise. And we never paid attention to who that person was. We only paid attention to the feelings that the person was giving us in that temporary moment. All right? Now, go with me to, or let me say this. Okay, write this down. When you are accountable and not capable, or but not capable, you will only end up miserable. When you are accountable but not capable, you will only end up miserable. You will only end up miserable. Promises are made with good intentions, but can only be kept by capacity. Promises are made with good intentions. They're made with good intentions, but they're only kept by capacity. And this is the reason why people who spend so much money, so much time preparing and thinking about the wedding, and then a couple of months later, they're already thinking about divorce. A couple of months later, a year later, and they're already saying, like, we can't live with each other. People who profess their love, their undying love for their partner, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years later, and now they want a divorce. And now more than ever, you're seeing it more and more and more in the culture than ever before. And here's the point. We're slowly, just like we bought into certain lies of the culture, here's another lie that we're buying into. And I want to make sure that you don't buy into this lie. And that lie is, even if you get married and then you discover that you're not capable, or if you discover that you're not compatible, then you can decide to go your separate ways. Now, understand, that's childish. That's not maturity. And for some reason, we think that's so mature, that's so cool. No, it's not cool. It's not cool to break up after you promised people that you will live with them. Now, the new thing is, oh yeah, we separated, but we're still very good friends. Are you retarded? Like something's wrong with you. And somehow, just because a celebrity says that, we buy in. And I guarantee you, there will be more movies coming out and more shows coming out that will say somebody, before when we were kids, it was always about some guy in college and some girl, and they fall in love and they struggle to get married. Now, the stories have changed. In a few more years and in a few more months, now the stories are going to be somebody's going to get married and then they're going to divorce, but they'll be still good friends. And this guy will have another girl, and this girl will have another guy, and they'll still be good friends. And now, over time, we're going to be desensitized to that, and we think, yeah, that's fine. It makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense. It's stupidity. It's ridiculous. And yet, just because the culture keeps saying, we think it's mature. It's not mature. It's not more understanding. I'm telling you, it's a lie of the enemy. It's a trap of the enemy. Don't buy into it. So, Pastor, all right, I get this. So how do I become? Go with me very quickly to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, please. If you have your Bibles, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. 1 Corinthians. Somebody said, Esther says we decide to be friends after divorce. LOL. I mean, it is LOL, but here's the thing. It's happening. It's happening in culture. I mean, don't we already have celebrities who are divorced and yet they say we're good friends? I'm not making this stuff up. We used to see it in Hollywood in the 90s. Guess what? We started seeing it in Bollywood in the 2000s. Guess what? Now we're going to see it more and more in every other Tollywood, Collywood, whatever, all the kinds of woods that are there in India. You're going to see it in all of them. You're going to see it in all of them. Somebody said Sam and Shay recent divorce. Yeah, again, I don't care about, I'm not I have nothing against celebrities. I have nothing against anybody. God bless them. God's grace upon them, mercy upon them, all of those things. I'm not trying to point out people's mistakes or any of that, but I'm saying don't buy into the lie of the culture. Don't buy into the lie of the culture. Amen. All right, so 1 Corinthians chapter 13, here is where the Apostle Paul, if you are not a Christian, it doesn't matter. I just want you to understand, this is a writing of a man called Apostle Paul, and he just gives us a glimpse of what love needs to look like, all right? What love needs to look like. And this is what he says, all right? And he says, all right, got it. Yeah, so whatever culture you come from, whatever background you come from, here's the understanding I want you to walk away with. The 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 4 says this. It says, love is patient and kind. Love is patient and kind. Now, if that is the case, then you've got to ask yourself the question, am I patient and am I kind? Am I patient and am I kind? When we talk about patience, all this means, am I pushy in my relationships? Am I always trying to get my way in my relationships? Now, this may not even be with a romantic relationship. When you even think about the relationships in your household with your family members, are you always pushy? Are you always about having it your own way? If you are, then here's what's going to happen. Even after you find the right person, even after you find the kind of person that you want to get married to, here's what's going to happen. After you get married, you're going to over and over and over again keep being pushy. You're not going to be patient with them. And even if you find the right person, and if you're not patient with them, you're going to have problems. It's not going to be it's not going to be a fun relationship to be in. And so here he says, love is patient and is kind, which means it is not pushy. It's willing to wait. It's not going to force the other person into things that they don't want to do. They're willing to wait. They're willing to do life at the other person's pace. They're willing to do life at the other person's pace. Love is kind, which means kindness. Here's how I want you to think about it. Kindness is love's response to another person's weakness. Kindness is love's response to another person's weakness. See, over and over and over again, you will come to situations in life where the other person that you're in relationship with, their weaknesses will be exposed. See, when you're just meeting them in the office for a few hours, and when you're just going out on a date, and when you're just trying to have phone conversations with them and chatting with them, you don't see their weaknesses. They act really good in front of you. Why? Because they want you to like them. They want you to like them. And therefore, they act a certain way. But then later on, what's going to happen is when you guys say, I do, and when you get married and when you are together, now there's no place to hide. There's no place to hide. And now all the weaknesses are out in the open. It's all there, exposed, bare. And when you are not kind to those weaknesses, the relationship starts breaking down. And this is where all the hurt that comes after being married starts to show up. Why are you treating me this way? I never thought you'll do this to me. I never thought you'll speak this way to me. What? And the other person is thinking, I never saw these weaknesses before. And yet, here's the point. If you are not becoming a person of love, you're not going to treat the other person the right way. Everybody has weaknesses. It's important that we become a person of kindness so that our response to their weakness comes out of love. All right. Then it goes on to say, love is not jealous or boastful or proud. Now, love is not boastful. That means when somebody else is getting the spotlight, let them get the spotlight. Let them get the spotlight. Don't overcrowd them. Don't try to outshine them. Right? If they're saying something nice about someone, let them say something nice about that person. Don't come in and say, yeah, I know you only did this, but when I did it, it was, no. Don't boast about yourself. Let them, give them the spotlight. Let them have it their way. Let them be celebrated. See, when you are not a person that is boastful and when you are not a person that is jealous, you let them have the spotlight. You celebrate the good stuff that is happening in somebody's life. And even not just from a romantic relationship standpoint, but pay attention to this. Whenever somebody else close to you is whenever somebody else close to you is celebrated, how do you feel on the inside? Do you feel uneasy when somebody else is being celebrated? If you feel uneasy when somebody else is being celebrated, that means you're dealing with jealousy there. That means you're dealing with some aspect of jealousy or pride or boasting in your life. And he says the mature person, the person who starts walking in love, the person who is becoming a person of love has to become a person that gives them the spotlight. All right. Then he goes on to say, or rude, it does not demand its own way. Does not demand its own way. Again, why do we have most of the problems that we do? Because we want it our way. They're not treating me the way that I want to be treated, and therefore I'm going to walk away. Now, understand that the rules and the way you've got to understand these things, it's different for the single person and it's different for the married person. Because once you get married, you've made a commitment. It's for the mature. You've made a covenant with that person that you will be with them. And now it's your responsibility to be with them and keep your end of the bargain. Goes on to say that love does not dishonor. That means you don't dishonor people with your words. You don't dishonor them with your looks. You don't dishonor them with your response. Now, what does that, let me just speak to the guys for just a moment. All the guys. Here, what would it look like if you just make a commitment that says, I will not dishonor women? I'll not dishonor women in the way I look at them, in the way I respond to them, in the way I speak to them. Now, because the culture tells us that even dishonoring women in certain ways is acceptable, not according to you becoming a person of love. If you want to become a person of love, if you want to become a mature person, then all the dishonoring that takes place has to take a backseat in your life. And here's the danger. For those of you who are in relationships, let me just say this. Some of you are in relationships where you are constantly dishonored. You're constantly dishonored by the words the other person speaks. And this can be girl or a guy, because dishonor can come from a woman as well. And you're in relationships where there's constant dishonor by words, by looks, by things that are said, and by actions that are taking place. And when you're constantly in a place of dishonor, you will get to a place where you will think you're a dishonorable person. And here's what I want to say to you. If you are in a dating relationship right now and you're thinking about marrying someone and they keep dishonoring you, don't keep moving forward in that relationship. Don't keep moving forward in that relationship. You are not a dishonorable person. You are an honorable person. And don't let how someone treats you determine your identity. Are you understanding that? Don't let how someone treats you define your identity. You're not a dishonorable person. Now, I know it's already 8:25, so I'll wrap things up here and we'll continue next week. But this is how you become a person that you are looking for is looking for. This is how you become that person. Not just basic. Now, again, career, being healthy, looking a certain way, accomplishing certain things, all of those things are there. I'm not diminishing any of those things, all right? But when it comes to you as a person, when it comes to your character, when it comes to your maturity, When it comes to you becoming a person that walks in love, a person that just does not promise, but a person who keeps their promise, a person who just does not speak, but a person who has developed the capacity to mean what they say. You've got to become a person of love. And the way you become a person of love is by making sure you're exercising these things in our lives. The more you exercise these things, the more you become the kind of person you are looking for, is looking for. And for those of you who are married, let me just say this one more time. This is also how you become the person you married will stay for. This is also how the person you married will stay for. Okay, again, just to recap very quickly, becoming has to take a precedence over finding. Becoming has to take precedence over finding. It's much more important. It's much more important. And preparation cannot be replaced by a promise. Preparation cannot be replaced by a promise. Promising someone does not make you capable, it only makes you accountable. Promising someone does not make you capable, it only makes you accountable. All right?